Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I'm with Aaron Hensley. He is a martial arts school owner for many years with Premier Martial Arts, and also runs Rise USA or Rise Martial Arts, where you're going to talk about him and I are going to be on stage together for a big event coming up in February in Scottsdale, Arizona in 2025. So if you are thinking about coming to a martial arts event where you don't sit in like a dingy hotel basement and in folding chairs, but like a really cool, highly produced event with really great speakers, you're going to want to listen to this because we're really excited about it. And of course, I'll be on stage, so that'll be fun too. So Aaron, thank you so much for coming on here.
Well, thank you so much. Hey, the real question is, are you wearing the short shorts? That's the real question.
So he's asking if I'll wear the short shorts because one of his main guests he's having is going to be Andy Elliott. And if you don't know Andy Elliott, he's kind of a controversial figure online.
For sure.
He's got maybe 1 million followers, maybe a couple million followers. I don't know what he has, but he's got a large following.
2.5, yeah.
2.5, okay. Yeah. So he's got a large following on social media. And part of the reason he's got a large social media following is because he says things that, like, you wouldn't expect someone to say on stage. Like, one of the things is, like, he'll have literally people take off their shirts in front of all the people and be like, okay, are you the leader that you need to be for your family or for your kids? Like, how are you going to talk to your kids about discipline, but also be 40 pounds overweight? And so it's not everyone's cup of tea, okay?
Right.
Like, it's definitely not. But for the people who like that kind of slap you in the face motivation, obviously he's found his audience. So if you're thinking about a martial arts event, I know that Aaron worked really hard and has an interesting story to share about how he got Andy Elliott to speak at his event, which is like a crazy speaker to have for a martial arts marketing event, because usually they aren't able to have a budget for a big speaker like that. So let's kind of just dive into that. Is that cool? Like the Andy Elliott story,
100%.
got him?
Well, I was going to say, while you're telling that story, you're exactly the reason why I wanted someone like him is I talk about I learned this from Tony Robbins. So, like, you put people in transition. And so, like, martial arts really does that for all of us. And that's why, we do martial arts not just for a couple of years. We do it for lifelong for the ones that are into it for like us, is because we learn so much about ourselves. And so sometimes, when you have those great coaches, great teachers, they constantly put you in transition. Andy does that. When he puts people on stage and makes them take their shirt off to kind of say, hey, if you don't take care of your body and your mind and your spirit, how are you going to go lead other people? I actually told him, I was like, the reason I want you is because I have had phases in my life where I became this, and I despise it in the martial arts teacher and educators of us. And matter of fact, we might turn off people who might not show up to the event for this reason, which tells 100% like they know we're talking about them. And the reality is like there's a lot of people teaching martial arts who haven't taken a class in 20 years. They're telling kids what to do, but they're not doing themselves. They're overweight. They have all the excuses in the world. And like we need to, sometimes you need that wake-up call, that slap in the face. And it's the funny thing is like some of the speakers have all called me and are like, man, we're going to get in the best shape ever. So because they want to be pulled up on stage and be like, and these are people that are prom athletes, people like Reed Presley that we know, that we're talking about, they want to be in their best shape, so they show up that way. And the reality is like we all need coaches in our life to be in transition and to push us to get the best out of us, because humans by nature, people say that we're lazy in America. I think we're just efficient. That's what we are. We burn as little energy as possible to get the max result, which is actually pretty smart. And we're capable of doing more. So the goal of being efficient using technology or whatever, or knowledge, is so we can go further. And I think Andy's the kind of guy that is not everybody's cup of tea. I didn't even like him the first year I heard him online. The algorithms kept showing up my feed, so I couldn't turn him away. And so the thing is like, I got to witness, and here's how I got him. I know you were talking about like getting a guy like that to a martial arts event. I had the martial arts people kind of in my radar of who I wanted to be there. And the concept of the event is to work with school owners and the people working in the schools to help them not only professionalize and look, there's a lot of coaches out there and a lot of events out there, and great ones that I've been to. And I love going to them. I get motivated, I get excited, I get encouraged, I get inspired. And then I take action. That's what's helped me be successful. I had the martial arts people there, and the goal was to help push people to be better. And then I was like, I need someone who's outside of the industry who just comes in and kind of gives us a wake-up call. And so I reached out to 10 people. I had 4 reach back out to me of the 10, 2 to take it to the next level. One of them was just going to be someone for my personal interests. But Andy's team, Did you ever see the movie Rudy?
Yeah.
So it was Rudy from the movie, and I was like, because and the reason why that movie, I still, if it's on, I can't turn it off. It's still inspirational. I've seen it 50 times, and I still get jacked and motivated after that movie. So I was like, how I like having the author. I've had, when I read a book, I'm like, hey, how do I get that guy instead of buying everybody a book? How do I get that guy to speak at the event? I want that person, and I was like, that's a movie that's from my childhood all the way to now that I can't turn off. And so he reached out. And to me, his fee was a little crazy for the fact that he's not relevant outside of a small niche market. Andy's team reached out to me. I'm on a Zoom call the very next day after I reached out to him. That's how fast they took action. The guy goes through the whole gambit of what it's going to cost, $100,000 plus travel, blah, blah, blah. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to it. I'm learning how they sell me on the idea. And then they give me all the things of like why it's not going to work for me. And forget the money part. Even if the money was easy to figure out, the dates weren't lining up. There's all a bunch of logistic stuff. While it's going on, I'm learning. I'm taking notes like, okay, this is how they're selling me. Okay. Because one day, like, I want to be able to ask somebody for $100K to show up to speak. You know what I'm saying? And Andy walks in the room, kind of doesn't yell at the guy, but basically is like, hey, I need you to XYZ. And I just see the opportunity. And I was like, hey, Andy, how's it going? He turns to the because it's a Zoom call. He turns to the camera. Oh, what's going on? The guy tells him what's going on. We're trying to get him to speak. And then Andy just takes over the call and just tries to close me. And which is awesome because, like, that's a lesson in itself, right? He's the top of this food chain. He's got 100+ employees. They do $500,000 in sales a day. And he takes the time. And that ends up that call goes an hour. Then, because he has to go to another thing, he gets my cell number. He starts texting me because he wants to close this deal that day. It's towards the end of the year. So logistically, it's not going to work out. So then throughout the day, we're texting. So I basically sent an offer. I said, hey, if you'll accept it at $50K, which is half, and you let us use your facility, and I love this facility because it's designed for a classroom type setting, I'll wire you the money today. Okay? And so, like, I know that, money speaks type thing. While that's going on, I'm in Vegas. He's in Scottsdale, Arizona. While that's going on, I get an alert on my phone. By the way, we're FaceTiming while I'm at the gym at 6:00 in the evening. I'm lifting weights, FaceTiming with Andy, which is pretty dope. The first time I'm meeting, we're FaceTiming, right? That's pretty dope. He's got 2.5 million followers, $500,000 in revenue a day. He's got 3 kids, wife, like running this stuff. And like we spend probably 6-7 hours back and forth all day communicating. I get an alert. I'm part of a company called Wheels Up, which is like a small version of it's a private jet company, but it's like you buy access to the jets. And so I get an alert that there's a one-way flight from Henderson to Scottsdale the next morning that I can jump on, Citation 10. And I'm like, okay. So I says, hey, I text back and say, if you take a check, I'll be there in the morning. And he says, no, we'll take a wire, whatever like that. But if you can do the $50K, we'll do it. Next morning, I take 2 pilots and me on a Citation 10, which is pretty epic, fly to him, spend the day at the facility there, tour the facility, wire them the money, get all that done, and then get to learn how I got to watch the whole structure of his company runs inside. And then a couple days later, go back and film a podcast with him. And I told you, I think the last time you and I talked, it was like, I already got $50K's worth of value just from one conversation I had off camera with him that's already impacted my life in a great way. And I can't wait for people to meet. He's not everybody's cup of tea, but I guarantee the version you're going to see in real life compared to maybe what you see on YouTube or whatever like that, there's no way you're going to leave. Listen, and by the way, I have him speaking first, not last. A lot of people put their headline guy last. I have him first because I want people in transition the whole event. And so people that are VIP level, they're getting 3.5 hours basically with him right off the bat. There's no way after that you're not going to 100% get a 10x return on your investment being there, not just for the money, but the time. It's going to be massive, crazy, and particularly for the martial arts industry. I think it's a great opportunity. And I'll add to it, some of the things that we're going to do in the first 15 minutes is going to blow the minds of people there. So I can't wait just to introduce Andy to the martial arts community and the martial arts community to Andy. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's important for people who are skeptical about maybe his style that you don't have to get everything from everyone. You can get
100%.
something from someone, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't like every part about Tony Robbins. Sometimes I'm watching his content, I'm like, dude, this dude is culty as hell. But I like some things he says, and I could take that, right? Or like, Alex Hormozy is super popular, right? Well, I don't
Right.
want to be a guy. I mean, I love working hard and pushing, but I don't want to be a guy who my entire life identity is about my work. Like, I care
Right.
about having a family and spending time with kids. Like, he hates going on vacation. I like traveling. I like doing those things, right?
Yeah, his whole thing this past week when he's on vacation is like, I'm trying not to work type thing. I don't know if you followed him this past week,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
did see
this
that. It
whole
was the
thing.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time I've seen that. And I followed him, before his massive rise of popularity
Yeah.
because he was a gym space where martial arts space was kind of
Right.
similar, right? And he was just always dropping tons of like incredible, not like highly produced content because he wasn't like super popular. I remember he had like 1,200 subscribers on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought he was amazing because he was in our industry and obviously blew up later. But like
Yeah.
every
I
part of
love him.
his
He's
life.
almost like a philosopher. I love the way he communicates. Yeah.
Yeah, he says things that are obvious but in such like a beautiful way that resonates. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you need to go to this event just so you get like a slap of reality. I remember like even for me, one of the slaps of reality I got was like I signed up for a mastermind in like the fitness industry, so not martial arts related.
Right.
And I was in the room with these people that are all doing like with their online business, they're running personal training for an online business. Not that
Okay.
difficult to do. Okay. Or not
Right.
that it's not
Right.
difficult to do, but like not that different than martial arts, right? It's
Right.
not
Right.
some
Right.
like
Right.
foreign thing. So they were, most of the people in the room were doing like 200K, 400K, 500K a month. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that's freaking possible. I didn't even know that was like
Right.
a thing.
And you probably felt you were smarter than them, right? Like you
Yeah,
probably like, yeah.
yeah, there was no one there that was like, oh my God, this person's a freaking genius. I see why they're so great. It's just
Right.
like they have the right strategy and the
Yep.
right market share, the right boat to be in.
Yeah.
And I think like, like everyone wants to do fitness, right?
Yeah.
Or be
Yeah.
healthier, or for the most part, right?
Most part,
And like
yeah.
martial arts is like sometimes I think, corner ourselves and we don't give people the opportunity who might not be like there's already so successful you could be with one location in one area
Yeah.
teaching one thing, right?
Yeah,
So
very true.
anyway, it's just interesting to be around those types of people. So if you're thinking, hey, I'd love like a reality check, that's even more reason to come to this.
I'll tell you this too, because just from talking to you, I think you and I have a lot of similarities in the way we see things. I think the thing for me when I go to an event, and I do this not just with like, a mastermind or a business event. I do this even when I go, like I made this thing a couple years ago. I was like, I'm not going to watch sports on TV anymore unless I'm going to go to, if I want to go to it, I'm going to go to the concert, I'm going to go to the game. And when I go, I don't go there to just watch the game. I'm watching how they put on the show of the game. So like Tony Robbins, I've been to some of his events and I'm there, but like most people kind of fanboy or Grant Cardone or Alex's events or any of these guys, like there's some fanboy, which is cool. I go there and let me watch how they're doing this so I can learn about seeing. And so I think a lot of martial arts owners come to this event, besides the content they're going to get, all right, great speakers, yourself included, and not just the motivation, because motivation doesn't last, you're right. That's why we recommend daylight bathing. It's you're going to be in a room of people trying to go to the next level, pushing to go to the next level, and you might not even hear something you implement. It just might put you in the environment where you want to make a change. And for me, that's what happens a lot of times. It's like I'll see other people doing things. I'm like, man, yep. It's a reminder, or you're just in a different mental space because you're out of your, day-to-day comfort zone. And I don't understand. I really don't understand why people who own a business, whatever it is, don't invest first in themselves. They invest in a bunch of other stuff. Like the first thing is education and skill, because people could take away your business, they could take away your money, they could take away everything. If you got your health and you got skill, man, you can do anything. You could start over again. You could go to any level you want to go to. So 100%. I can't wait. It's like, it's definitely going to be a different environment for the industry for sure. And I can't wait to introduce it.
And like while we're talking, if someone's thinking about it, and they want to check it out, I know we have a discount for the Black Belt Business Podcast listeners if they use the promo code Brenner, so my last name with a capital B. If they don't use a capital B, apparently it doesn't work.
Oh,
so
man.
capital B, Brenner, Brenner. What's the website address they go to?
So if they go to riseusa.com/elevate, that will give them all the information. Make it easier though. rise720.com will just be the info to kind of get started. If they're curious about it, they can go there. We can follow up with them and kind of guide them through what process. I will say this too. So they got to be able to spell your name with a capital B. I'll say this too. I would encourage. So if you go to rise720.com and you read through the people there, I would encourage that if you're thinking about coming to the event, that's the problem. Like, it should be a no-brainer. Like, I know there's gonna be people in the room that are coming to the event because they're just curious what I'm doing, and they're like that, which is awesome, because I need those people. Like, for what I really want to do with my life, I need everybody in the world that does martial arts, that cares about people. Like, we need to go to Mars together, type thing. But there's also going to be people that are going to be like, man, I need to do this. I want to get my school started. They're teaching somewhere. They're in their high school gym teaching part-time. They want to go to full-time, and they're going to see guys like you speaking, and myself, and some of these other guys there that are teaching martial arts classes. And for whatever reason, they're going to like, oh, I don't like that guy, or they don't like this, or that doesn't make sense, or they're going to get intimidated by the price or the dates or whatever it is, and they'll overthink it. My thing about this is like, commit first, figure the rest out later, and it's worked out every single time, because then your brain figures out how to make it work. If you're independent, come by yourself. Great. If you're married, bring your spouse. Okay. My kids are going to be in the room. Just so you know, my kids will be in the room because they need to hear from people like you. My son's at a karate tournament today, his first tournament for the year. He's in Houston, Texas right now. He needs to learn from guys like you. All right. He's 16, going to be 17 this year. My daughter's 11. She's going to be learning from you. She needs to hear Andy. Like, what better? So if you're married, bring your spouse, and figure out the money part after the fact. If you have a staff, have your staff there. And here's why it's so important. And you know this, Matthew, from running schools. Like, if you go to an event and you're networking and you're the main guy, and you come back and bring it to your team, automatically there's a little bit of division, because they think like, oh yeah, you went and did this. They think you're on vacation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, of course, we're in beautiful Scottsdale, whatever. Yeah. You're there networking and learning. If they're there, it's a reward. And if you're there with them, they're hearing stuff at the same time. So when you guys come back, instead of having to you disseminate it back to them and then take action, you guys hit the ground and you take action. And that was one of the secrets I had to my success. I had 54 full-time staff members, full-time, okay? Where that's responsibility. Taking that many people to an event, it was never less than $25,000, between travel and everything like that. So that was an investment into their future, is the way I looked at it. And exponentially, we're beating our competitors. And I say competitors, I'm talking about competing against the same people in my same brand, because I was I was the best inside that brand. And I wanted to beat everybody. And then I wanted to beat myself. Like, I always measured like, hey, last month we did this. Last year, this time we did this. Is because I was able to leverage speed on my side. So yeah, for sure. Rise720.com, get information. Then you go to buy your ticket, spell Brenner with a capital B.
Yeah, and then you get a discount off the ticket for being a listener.
Absolutely.
I think it's like $200 or something like that. Don't quote me on the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's what it is.
I think that's right. Yep.
So tell me, you're part of their premier franchise, martial arts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Later ended up selling, but you're part of it for a really long time. So tell us a little bit about the schools you ran, so people understand your background.
Yeah, so I've been in martial arts my entire life. I started kicking the day out of my mom, literally. Like, my dad started martial arts when he was 13. He got his black belt from Chuck Norris, one of his first black belts. And so it was how my dad and I communicated. And I started training at 2 officially. I earned my black belt at 12. It was a big deal because at the time, 12-year-olds didn't get black belts. And I was certified through Chuck Norris' organization. It's called United Fighting Arts Federation. And it was a big thing because, like I said, at the time, there's only one other kid that was that young that had his black belt. So, it wasn't sure I was going to follow this as my career path, but as I aged up and started teaching, bless you there, I saw that. And so I realized, like, I love martial arts. I love what it makes me feel. Like, it makes me feel like I have a purpose beyond just whatever I want for myself. And so when I committed to do this full time, my dad had a very successful school, 500 members. Was this is back a long time ago, EFC days, like early 90s. When I decided to do my own school, I was looking for something that was a brand connected. My dad was part of Martial Arts America back in the day with Andrew Wood, and so I understood how that worked. And I found Premier, researched it. Took a year before I made the decision because I was not a business-minded person at the time. I was a martial artist, and I was worried about, I wonder if they'll recognize my rank. That's what I was worried about. I'm like, yeah. Does the guys at the top of this thing not know who I am? I'm a world champion under Chuck Norris. I'm a this certified black belt. I'm a master level black. Are they going to recognize my rank? That's what I cared about. Now I know it's like nobody cares about that stuff. The only person that cares about that kind of stuff is you and maybe your parents. Like my own kids don't even care. So when I decided to pull the trigger, and like I do anything in life, I want to be first, best, and I like doing the things because maybe it was the chip on the shoulder of where I grew up, whatever. But I became the number one school in that company when it was a license program. And then when the founder wanted to franchise, I was the poster child of the brand, and he leveraged me to try to help the people who are licensed to want to go to the franchise. So he sold me on the idea of what franchising would do. And so I was the first franchise school under that brand. Eventually owned, between schools I owned 100% and schools I was partnered in with the founder, owned 24 across 6 different states. $7 million in annual revenue, and so we did pretty well.
And then you ended up selling them all at once, like one package deal, or you do them in chunks? How did that happen?
Yeah, so the founder basically wanted to transition and exit from the brand. I mean, I guess that's I learned a lot about franchising, good, bad, and ugly through this, and I think his whole intent, I'm assuming at least, was franchising, so he had something easier to exit.
Yeah.
My hope and my belief was, I'm a martial artist and I figured out how to do business really well. And my hope was, he would eventually build this thing to a certain level and maybe hand it off to me. He could own it, I could run it, because I wanted to keep the integrity of martial arts. It's very important to me. It's like, I don't care what you consider the best martial arts is, but there's quality teaching, right? Like some people like Taekwondo, some people like Jiu-Jitsu. I don't care if you love martial arts, you love martial arts. It's fine. But there's quality Jiu-Jitsu and there's bad Jiu-Jitsu. There's quality Taekwondo, there's bad Taekwondo, right? Like I wanted quality integrity in our product because I want to be best known and best product. And so I knew it was like, if someone else came in and did this, they're not going to be a martial artist. They're going to be a business-minded person, which might be great, might be better in some ways. They also are not going to understand the art part of martial art, right? And so like he ended up selling to private equity, and they wanted the schools that I was running as proof of concept, I guess. And so they kind of gave me an offer. I wasn't preparing to sell, didn't want to sell, but they basically said, hey, look, this is kind of what your opportunity is here. And, honestly, it's like I didn't want to do it. And also, I'm trying to take butt out of the vocabulary. And also, I was like, hey, my family's not together right now. I was living in Tennessee. They were in South Carolina. It's an opportunity to get my parents and everybody kind of together. And I'm not really sure how they're going to run this thing. This gives me the opportunity to have flexibility based on if they're the best operators in the world. This thing goes to 1,000 locations. Great. At the time, we had 200 locations open. 700 were sold. So it means 500 have to open. No one has ever done this, pulled off before. So if they pull it off, it gives me a lot of future. If they don't, gives me the opportunity to do something different if I want to do something different. So sold all of them at one time. It's a pretty interesting day to be scrolling your phone. I was at a karate tournament. I was at the Battle of Atlanta. Okay, I was at the Battle of Atlanta, and like most business owners, you're always pushing the envelope. You're stretching the budget. Like you make 1,000, you spend 2,000. You make 100K, you spend 200K. I had a little bit of money in my bank account. I had about 200 students at this tournament. It's one of my favorite events. It was my first NASCA tournament when I was 7 years old. Won that tournament when I was 7. My son, by the way, his very first tournament was the Battle of Atlanta. when he was 4 years old. And just last summer, in the same room, doing the same weapon, on Father's Day weekend, he got his first overall win on the stage there, which is pretty awesome, right? Because I have the video of him doing commas as a 4-year-old, and then him also winning on stage there as a 16-year-old. Pretty awesome. That's epic, right? I mean, I get goosebumps thinking about it right now.
You got to stitch that together. I want to see it,
bro. Oh, dude, bro, I cried so hard. That was anyway. But so I'm at the Battle of Atlanta.
On your phone, yeah.
Oh, so I'm looking at my phone and like. Like I said, at this time I had a little bit of money in my account, but I'm scrolling and with my wife Brooke, and it's crazy feeling to scroll, and you've got a little bit of money. Like money's all relative anyway. I've been around people 100 times more wealthy than I am, and then you scroll, and all of a sudden you get whole nother column in your bank account at one time. I've made millions of dollars, but not at one time, right? Like, it's a way different feeling to have it at one time.
And Can I ask what that number was? You don't have to if it's personal. You don't have to. It's all good.
No, I mean, it was less than 10. Should have been 10, but it was less than 10. But it was. It's pretty documented how much it was overall, and there's 2 wires that I got. But let's put it this way. 24 hours later, I recognized how little that money was. It seems like a lot in the moment. And it was really, it's a weird feeling because I'm picturing this as we're talking about now. It's like, I remember feeling excited of like, man, I just did what probably most people that run, because look, this was martial arts schools. I didn't do after school. I didn't do, it was just karate. I started my company, literally, I couldn't get a loan to open my first karate school. So I played poker kind of part-time. I love strategy, chess, poker. And I won a poker tournament and then played another poker tournament and turned $50 in 1 week. I literally played a $50 poker tournament, cashed out $33,000 and had enough money to buy my mats and my mirrors and everything like that. And then, like I said, the last year in business, we did $7 million in gross revenue. So with about, that year we did about $3 million in profit or so. So, to be able to pull that off, to exit a company, I don't know many people have done that in the martial arts space. I don't know many people, And then fast forward this year, I was talking about that same tournament, the Battle of Atlanta. My son wins overalls. They have a black belt graduation at that event because my school's black belt graduation, we partner with the Battle of Atlanta. And my last black belt graduation had 136 people on the stage at the Battle of Atlanta getting their black belt, awarded to them. They're still doing the black belt graduation at the event. I'm there as a spectator watching my schools continue to go on and with people that don't even know who I am, which is weird and pretty freaking epic at the same time. That's like, man, not only did I financially get to a level where I built something big, 3,500 students, to exit it, make sure my staff had multiple staff making 6 figures, help people own their schools, help coach a lot of people. Now, there was about 40 premier martial arts school owners that I've helped, from like Tommy Crouch to Josh Smith to, just a bunch of them that I helped get started. But to sit in the audience to literally just be a fan of martial arts and watching kids receive their black belt that, don't necessarily know who I am, they don't have ties to me. That's a pretty cool feeling. It's just, then you realize it's not a lot of money, and it's like, all right, what are you gonna do next? And so which is why I came up with Rise. I'm like, you know what? I'm a Christian. I like the symbolism of kind of the rebirth. I feel like transition always happens for us. It happens to us or for us. And I was blessed with an opportunity to take some time to really all right, what do I want my legacy to be while I'm living on earth? And how do I want to go to the grave? And so that's what my intent is the rest of my life.
So when you had that money, did you do anything with it? Did you go on vacation or buy a nicer car? Do something nice?
Well, that night I bought everybody at the bar tab. I don't even know who it's like $12,000 that night. I bought everybody's tab at the Battle of Atlanta. I don't even know if they know it was for me or not, but and I tip 100% everywhere I go. So, so that was that night.
Wait, always, in perpetuity, no matter where you go, you
always.
100%.
Sometimes more, but 98% of the time it's 100% gratuity. Yeah.
And is that something you've always done even before you had money, or have you had some more
I've
money?
I've done that since, no, I've done that my whole life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
What if it's
something,
bad service? Do you still do it if there's bad service?
I like playing games when it's, first of all, if it's bad service. You know, a lot of times it's not always the server's fault. You know, there's
Yeah,
a lot of
for
pieces
sure.
to that. But, you know, the thing about money is like, I feel like money puts a hold on people. And I learned that when I was younger because I grew up poor. My mom and dad are hard workers, even to this day, hard workers. My dad had a stroke, and then 2 days later, he's like ripping out the floor in his house to build a new bathroom. Like, it's like I felt like money was a way to like, and it still is, to manipulate and control people. And so I was like, these people who work in the restaurant industry, for example, people with money, I saw, not always, but I saw people with money be stingy with their money. They wouldn't tip very high. I'm like, man, like there's something about that I've learned about, like when you give love, you get more love. And so like same thing with money. Like when you give more, it comes back to you. And I was like, I wanted this was as a kid. I wanted an abundant, I didn't maybe use those terminology, but I wanted an abundant life. And the only way to have that is to be a giver. And so I've always been that way. I love giving experiences or whatever. And money's just a small little token. So I've always done that. But when it's bad service, or great service, I typically play the game. Whereas I'll ask the server what they would like their, you know, pick a number they feel like they deserve based on their service. And because they know if it's bad service. And I've had people, like literally, I remember I was with Cameron one time. I mean, our tab was probably $100, whatever like that. And I've tipped, and I don't do it for like broadcasting. I know a lot of people do stuff for social media or whatever like that. But I remember one time I was like, asked the person, what's the greatest tip you ever got in their life? And this was like $200 or $300. This was at like a nice place too. And our bill was $100 something, whatever like that. I was like, really? That's all you've ever gotten? And so I made sure I doubled whatever their best was. Christmas party last year at my house, we had people at our house doing the serving, and bartender there. I was like, what's the best tip you ever got from? Because you're like, if someone hires you for a private party at the house, you know, people got some money. She was like $500. I'm like, of all the wealthy people in the world, you come and do in the house, you're serving, doing parties. $500 the greatest tip you ever got? Like, that's crazy. So I felt like you put good in the world, it comes back to you, kind of thing, and it's worked out for me. So,
Yeah.
but I didn't go on vacation. You're asking me things I did with money. I bought 5 houses. That's what I did.
Like investment properties or houses you live in?
Bought one I lived in, 4 for investments. So spent about $12 million in real estate within 90 days, maybe max, somewhere in there.
Okay, so you shove that money in real estate as quickly as possible.
As fast as I could. And I did buy 3 cars. Pay cash for 2 of them.
Yeah, and like the other thing you mentioned about, you know, doing good for others and money coming back, and also it's just like it's a good feeling, right? Like whenever money can
100%,
buy a
man.
really good feeling, and it's also for someone else and not necessarily for you. Like I don't do 100% tip, but what I will do is whenever I'm getting food somewhere, I don't do this every time. I do it some of the
Yeah.
time. I'll buy the food of the person behind me in line.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
love
buying
that.
a
I love
salad
that.
or Chipotle, and I usually will whisper to the person, the checkout person. I'll say, "Hey, this is just a random act of kindness. Just tell them to pass it
Yeah.
along to someone else someday. Don't tell them who it was. I'm just gonna pay. Just tell me what they got, and I'll pay for it. And I'm just gonna walk out." And they go, okay.
Yeah.
And
It
then
freaks
I
people
pay
out,
that.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then what'll happen is I'll run out because I don't want them to thank me. I don't want them to
Right.
see who I am, ask me questions, you know, or think that like I'm trying to get something from them.
Yeah.
Like that's the last. Because sometimes it'll be like it could be anyone. It could be like an old lady.
Yeah.
It could be. You know, some teenagers or something. Like, I just want them to be like, wow, someone just did something really nice for me. And because they're going to tell everyone in their life the rest of the day, like, yeah, I was at, you know, Sweet Green or something. And the guy bought someone bought my salad. I have no idea who it was. And I'll go run out to my car and then I'll look out the window just to see their reaction. They always go like, they're looking
Yeah.
everywhere. It's really funny.
I'll tell you what's crazy. I'm glad you say that you do that. I love when people do that. Have you ever had it happen to you?
Man. When I was a kid,
Okay.
kid, I specifically remember I went out to this pizza place, and I went to a small Jewish school, and there was the lawyer in town, like that, like he was on all the billboards and stuff. Like
Right,
everyone knows
right.
this guy, and like so super affluent guy, And I remember he came and we had pizza, French fries. It was probably no more than $35. You meet
Right.
like a couple friends. But I remember he just like bought our food for us. And like I was probably I don't know, I was probably like 11 years old. And it was just I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I'll never forget that. So if I could recreate that for someone else, yeah. But it doesn't
I'll
happen to
tell
me
you,
often. Super rare.
that's what I'm about to say is like, you've done it probably you've done it way more than it's ever happened back to you.
Yeah.
When it happens to you in the future, because it just happened to me recently, a few months ago, it feels weird because I like to be I'm not a good receiver. I'm not a good receiver. And I was like, that's a weird feeling. Like, but here's the thing is, it does make you feel not obligated. It makes you feel more aware. And like, I was off camera with something you and I could talk about is like, I wanted to kind of create this idea for the martial arts community where like, because I've done this with memberships and stuff like that. I'm sure you've done a lot of good things in the martial arts schools that you've helped and or running. But like, what if as a martial arts culture, just the idea of kindness was like a thing that we executed. So people, every time they saw a martial arts school owner, for example, or whatever, like they just expected that we were going to treat people with the utmost kindness. And the reason why I say that is because I've also seen the opposite. There's someone that I know, like I said personally, who was very rude to people, and it would embarrass me. And I'm like, what? Like you represent, like when you're someone, you know, like Matt Brenner, for example, or Aaron Hensley, like there's a responsibility to how we perform in the world. We all have bad days, yes, but what if they all saw us as the most kindness of all the people out there? I think that the world needs more of that for sure.
Yeah, and little things. And the hard part is, I always struggle with: do I post it on social media? And then it's like,
Right.
oh, now it's like he's doing this
Right.
as a performatory action, or do I not? But then if no one knows about it, then it's like, okay, it won't inspire them to do it. But if they do know about it, then like it can make me look some type of other way, right? So that's the part. And I can't really film. Like there's one instance where I bought it for police officers when I was with someone else. I said, hey, film this.
Right.
Because I wanted to see the police officers, like, you know, their uniforms. But other than that, like, I only have one film of me doing that. But that's what I'm sure.
I have probably zero film of me doing this. The only thing that I know that I filmed one time is I had Alex Mencius and my son during Christmas time at my house, and I went to the bank and got like $2,000 in $100 bills, and we just would go to stores like it was Christmas Eve or day before Christmas Eve, and we just go up. We weren't even shopping. We literally just walk in and go up to the person at the cash register and just give them $100. And so many people would freak out because they're like, what? Like they didn't know what to do. And I was like, it's $100. Like, but that's the only thing I probably filmed. But there's a lot of things I like to do besides just the paying whatever like that. Is finding things that people love and respect, and find a way to gift that to them without them knowing that it's you. And so, like friends, family, pastors, people of importance to me. You find out what their love language is type thing and find a way to facilitate it. I had a suite at Taylor Swift this past year, the hardest ticket, the most expensive ticket to get. A lot of them, it was the first concert. We had like 25, 26 people inside a suite there. I just took people to Zach Bryan, 22 people in that suite, and people didn't know who he was. And like I said, but it's the first time in that experience. And my thing is this is like, when someone has an experience like that, the average person, they're like in awe or whatever like that. The person that like I try to pull out of them is like, wow, I never want to go less than this again. How do I do this forever?
Right.
Because one of my mentors, that's what happened. This is how he became a billionaire. Is he sold a company for $2 million. They flew him on a private jet. His name's Jesse Isler, owns the Atlanta Hawks. And while he's flying private, he's like, I never want to fly less than this again. How do I do this? And he came up with the idea of having a private jet company, knowing nothing, pitched it to Warren Buffett's company. They gave him a yes, and he sold that company to Warren Buffett with Warren Buffett's jets for $1 billion in the future. So I want people to say like, man, like I want to do this again. How do I do this? And that's what I'm gonna do with servers. When they get a $1,000 tip, I want them to freak out. Last Christmas, I'm with my family. We're at a place called Corner 16. It's not some fancy restaurant. Our bill was $250. I tipped $1,000. It was Christmas Day. And like she's crying, she told me like her car broke down 2 days before, blah, blah, blah. Great. I love that. That's beautiful. And what she didn't ask me, which I want people to ask me, is like, what should I do with this? Right? Because they're just going to pay a bills or whatever. How do I replicate it? Where do I invest this so I can do this every day? Because if you make $1,000 a day instead of one time, you can change your life. No one's asked that question yet.
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't know to ask the question because you're not probably surrounded by people who think like that.
For
right?
sure.
But they
For
should,
sure.
right? They should.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of martial artists, there's this like, sense of you want to have humility, which is important, right?
Right.
You don't want to
Yeah, of course.
someone to be a jackass, but that at the same time, if you're too humble, no one ever. It's hard to get people to want to be like you, and it's hard to lead, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think that I've struggled with for a long time because of my family and my culture, of my family. Like my mom is a daughter of a Holocaust survivor, right? She's a pack rat. The house is full of crap,
Right.
And
Never gets rid of anything, I'm sure.
Never gets rid of anything, so because of that, like how I'm raised is like you get the best deal as possible on everything.
Yeah.
And you'll spend hours on the phone with Verizon or Comcast to get $10 off your bill.
Save this,
And like you drive a car till it falls apart completely, which is like, listen, these are good things because most people spend too much money and buy things that they can't afford, and then they're stuck. But like there has to be a balance sometimes of like, okay, well, I'm just going to spend the money on this so other people experience it and they want to be like me, or I'm going to have a nicer car for this reason, or I'm going to have a nicer house.
Yeah.
So, and that stuff kind of comes around. Another thing I want to mention that you mentioned earlier is like you said your kids are going to the event.
Yeah.
They're hosting.
Yep.
So I have a litlittle brother who's 19. Okay, so I'm 33. Okay. He's 19. He's always been like a little kid my whole life. And I'm his older brother, but because of our age difference, 13 years, I've also been like somewhat of a father-ish. Like I'm kind of that in between.
Right.
And I give him advice, tell him what to do all the freaking time. Like do this, like work out.
Does he listen? Does he listen?
No, never listens. Never listens. But he sees a post on social media and he thinks I'm like an influencer. And even though I told him the same exact thing 1,000 times in person, if he sees a video of it on social media, it
real.
comes off completely different.
Yeah.
Like he texted me, yo, bro, I heard I saw you're speaking with Andy Elliott. I looked up the tickets. I want to go. And I'm and I've asked him to go to martial arts industry events a million times.
He's like,
always refuses, doesn't want to go. And now it's like, oh, he wants to go for Andy Elliott. Then he's like, oh, well, I'm like, and at first I was like, all right, I'll get him a ticket. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute. I need him to buy it.
Yes.
I need him to be into it. So I was like, okay, well, here's the ticket cost. And he's like, well, I don't have $700. And I'm like, I don't know, whatever it was. I don't know what ticket it looked at or something. And I'm like, dude, what would Andy Elliott say?
Yeah.
I'm like, would he say like, okay, just do nothing, or figure out you have 2 months, like figure it out.
Commit first. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
People around you.
Yeah, you just said something. So, like, first of all, when people pay, they pay attention. So, him putting money into it, he'll take it more serious. But that cycle you just communicated to me right now is exactly why you're successful. Other guys that in our industry are, and the ones that aren't. And a lot of the guys who are not as successful as they could be, they kind of lie to themselves so they can lie to the world that they're, like it goes back to the measurement contest. Like how many students you got? How big is your school? Like all that kind of stuff. In reality, none of that really matters because you could as a business, your scorecard is profit, right? That's your scorecard. In the martial arts world is quality of student, like retention, those type things will matter. But the cycle you just talked about is like people will see a cost of something and they calculate, ROI immediately. Like, well, they'll say, hey, I don't have X, Y, Z. All right. So I don't have money. I don't have time. I don't have this. I don't have that. And that mindset in the martial arts community. So I coached for years a guy named Josh Smith who had 4 premier martial arts schools. And when I first started coaching him, he was literally running a martial arts school out of his tanning bed in his strip mall. And so he's now coaching people and getting people to license under his brand. And he called me 2 days ago. It's like, man, these guys that I'm working with are having all these problems. They're not taking action, whatever. I was like, listen, you already knew this was going to happen because this is just like a karate student. Like these owners, we're the same product, right? We attract what we have. And I says, and a lot of your clients you're working with are the same clients I worked with this coach here, and they just bounce back and forth. And the reason why they don't go to the next level is because their lid on belief is what's stopping them. And so my hope is someone sees you speaking, like I said, with Andy, like your brother, for example, and at least gets their wheels turning where they're like, I got to figure it out. And so don't make it easy on them. If he's serious about going to the next level in life, he's got to figure out how to make it work. And I know that if every time in my life I've done that, every time, and I could stay here for hours and tell you some unreal stories. I was just talking about Jesse Itzler owns the Atlanta Hawks. My son's been to 3 Hawks games. The first time, Jesse takes him to the store and buys him stuff while the game's going on. The owner of the team takes my son, and he gets high fives from the starting lineup, Trae Young being one of them. The second time he performs for the on the court for the team, and the third time was this year. We sat courtside with the owner of the team when LeBron's playing, so we could watch LeBron play. Like, and I'm like, Jackson, the next thing is you own the team, or you're not playing for him. You're not a basketball guy. So and that's because I just took a shot one time to show up at a game that I didn't even know he was going to be at, and I was in a coaching class with him. Like, there's so many crazy stories that have happened because I just took the action. You don't know who you're going to meet. And here's the thing is, there's going to be someone in that room, Matt, that you're going to be speaking to, or you're going to be speaking to everybody, but the one person's going to hear something you said that doesn't even know they want to hear from you, and it's going to change their life. Because that's what's happened to me so many times. I met Jesse Itzler at an event. I did not want to hear him speak because he looked crazy. And he became a mentor in my life, right? Like, and I didn't want to hear him. I almost left during his talk because I was there for someone else. But it was God needed me to hear his message, and it changed my life. What Andy and I talked about when we recorded the podcast 2 weeks ago, before we shot, what he spoke to me for 5-10 minutes about a topic, off camera, already shifted how I'm looking at how I raise my kids immediately. So that's what I know is so great about being at events like that, is because I'm going to say something someone's going to hit it, and it's going to resonate with them. You're going to say something, Andy's going to say something. We're all going to be verbally motivated, encouraged, pushed, slapped around, whatever it takes. And we will grow and get better. And we're going to set some targets and missions together while we're there to have our version of the martial arts mission to Mars. Right. So I'm excited for that too.
What does your mission to Mars look like?
Well, the details are, I'm gonna go through. I'll give you the high level point. The details I'm gonna go over there on stage. I intend to create a conversation with the world about martial arts creating resilience through the hardship that it takes to become a great martial artist, and I particularly want kids to have resilience. We live in times where technology is making life easy for us, and we don't have the ability to overcome. Like, we're so afraid of conflict. Like, we think the only way to overcome conflict is to run away or fight. There's a lot of communication in between there. And when people fight first, it's because they lack the skill to communicate. So when boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, have a spout, and the first thing they want to do is divorce, it's because they lack communication skills. They don't have skills you can learn. When someone's in business and they're freaking out because they can't make payroll, and the first thing they want to do is discount everything or close down, or whatever, it's because they lack the skills to reproduce their success. And so I believe children, particularly in America, but really worldwide. I mean, you and I off camera were talking about, I was the last flight out of Israel on October 7th when the war broke out. I was there teaching martial arts to kids there in Jericho, the oldest city in the world. That's what I did with some of my money, is I sponsored a school there. So I believe kids need more resilience. And the way to do that is, like, martial arts gives you the ability to learn about yourself. It's about self-enlightenment. Yes, for self-defense, but really about who are you as a person. And by the way, look at someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who's training in jiu-jitsu now. He's shifting even how he talks. If you go back and see how he talks about the world, martial arts is shifting his life. He's one of the richest people in the world. And so I intend to make a conversation where the world gets to pay attention to martial arts, because the only way people see martial arts is through UFC or movies. And I intend to put together some of the greatest martial arts business owners, minds, coaches, and we're going to do a black belt graduation with kids at one time in one facility. 10,000 kids is the target in 4 years from now or less. I have the facility. I've got the people. I need the influencers of the martial arts space, guys like you, the Adam Keifers of the world, the Mike Dillards of the world. Like, we need to put them all together, and it's going to force the world to pay attention about what's going on with this. And everybody, as a martial arts school operator and owner, is going to get a lift. And so I'm going to unveil the whole plan and details of how everybody can be involved. So I'm pumped about it. By the way, it's going to be at Allegiant Stadium. And the reason why it's going to be at NFL Stadium is because NFL is the biggest sport and biggest coliseum that we have. I just watched Gladiator 2. It's the biggest coliseum we have is NFL. There's only 32 of them. And I want to be surrounded by winners. And Tom Brady's now part owner of the Raiders. And so we're already partnered with them. We're going to host an event with them this year. And so before 2030, we're going to have a Black Belt graduation. There will be 60,000 people in the stands, 10,000 kids graduating Black Belt. And I need help doing it. It's going to take a lot of us.
I know what people are thinking right now.
Yeah, crazy. He's crazy.
He's
no, of course.
No one's ever done that before. He can't do that. How's he going to get that many people? How's he going to do it with different styles? Okay. And I understand you think that way. Well, listen, I think everyone should be skeptical, right?
I'm sure. I'm skeptical.
Right?
I'm actually, those questions are in my head. I'm like, how the hell am I going to do this? I don't know. Like, yes, I know.
Yeah. I think there's two ways you could ask that question. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, it's impossible. Or how am I going to do this? Like, what do I need to do to actually make this happen? And I think not often enough are we scared by our goals. Like you even saying that to me, we talked about it on FaceTime before we recorded, like a week ago. I was like, almost like a little scared for you. I was like, how's he going to do that? Like, that sounds crazy. Like, that's not going to work. And like, I'm going through those things in my mind, but like, if your goals don't scare you, like my goal of, and I got this from Jesse Itzler. So like the idea of having a misogi.
I saw you post about that. Yeah.
It's like, so for people who don't know what that is, a misogi is like it's an ancient Japanese ritual where you do something very difficult, hard, scary every year that defines your year. So instead of a year being defined for you because your sister got married, or because your uncle died, or because something really great or really terrible happened, it's like, or maybe you had a baby or something. Like, those are all great, but like, what if you could control and define a year by doing something really special and hard during that year? And I'll always remember 2024 is the year that I didn't have a drink, I didn't have a puff, I had nothing. Right? I was a freaking nun. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome, though, man. So, that's awesome. I'm proud of you for doing that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And like, it's really like, I got extremely emotional thinking about it, like for the next couple of days, and then I know people are asking like, "Oh, you gonna drink again, or you gonna do anything?" Like, yeah, I probably will here and there. The whole goal is that like, it's not like I just do it just because everyone else is doing it in the moment, right?
Right.
Not never, but I hope like much less than I did, previously. But it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do in 2025? And for me, like 2025, I'm competing in a jiu-jitsu tournament. That's kind of, even though I'm a martial arts
Have you ever done
guy,
that before?
In a tournament? No, I've trained in jiu-jitsu.
Dude.
So
hardest competition I've ever done, jiu-jitsu competition. That's the hardest I've ever done.
And I know it's gonna take a lot of prep. It's gonna take time away from me weightlifting and doing other things I enjoy. And the idea of thinking, and I've thought about it for years, and I've always pushed it off because it's been scary. And I'm like, okay, this is my year. I gotta freaking do it, right? I'll document the whole journey of me doing it, and I don't even care if I got my ass beat. That's fine. That's me, like me normally in class. That's cool. But like, it can't just be enter like right now where I'm just destroyed. I want to put up somewhat of a fight, right? I don't need to win. I just want to compete.
Let me ask you a question then. So, have you picked the tournament?
No. So since I moved from Philadelphia to Florida, it's been 3 months, and I've been back and forth between Philadelphia and here so many times. I haven't even trained in the last 3.5, 4 months. So, and I'm embarrassed by that. So it's like, okay, new year, I'm not traveling for a little while. It's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna pick a school. I'm gonna start going, 3 days a week, and I'll pick a tournament and start training.
All right. So I'm not sure when you're gonna drop this video. I'm sure pretty soon. And so today is January 3rd. Permission to coach you on this is I would like you to be able to pick a tournament, and from less than a week from today, so by next Friday, and go ahead and put it on the schedule and just circle that date, and that's the event.
Yeah, my plan was to ask the coach at the school, like, hey, here's my goal. Here's what I want to do.
I'm with you.
Where should I compete? Like, and I want it to be towards the second half of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. There's no chance of me not doing it, right?
But I'm just saying, like, let's even if you eventually have to change the day for what your coach says, let's don't do that, whatever. Pick an event, circle it. I tell you, as soon as you do that, and then of course, because I know you're going to post it when you do it.
Yeah.
As soon as you do that, I'm going to tell you, it's crazy how things start lining up for you. Because like I know you're guys of your word. Like I know you don't just preach things and teach things, you do them as well too. There's something about that, instead of just speaking it, like circling it, putting it on the calendar, saying, hey, this is where it's at. For example, I was telling people about the 10,000 people graduating Black Belt 5 years ago, and I had an idea, and I would only tell my staff. And I had an idea of kind of where it's at. Now I know, like, hey, it's going to be 2030 is the deadline. It's at Allegiant Stadium. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada, 10,000 kids. And by the way, probably between now and February when we do our event, we might actually change the number higher because I'm actually thinking now I've converted a little bit. I'm like, it might actually be too easy. Like 10,000 kids might be too easy because like all the things you just went through that I'm going through freaking out mode, I actually have solves to those now. So I'm like, what if you live outside of Tampa now, right? What if we
Fort
just
Lauderdale, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, Fort Lauderdale. So you're closer to Miami. What if we had like 4 or 5 or 6, oh, there's 32 NFL teams. What if we got all of them at the one time on one day and there's, 1,000 kids at each one at the same time, right? Like what if it was 30,000 kids instead of 10? Like, so like the whole thing is like, why do I want to do this is because I know you talked about doing this scary thing, going after it. So your year is defined by something because your life is so short. And if you don't, like you get in life, the things you aim for, we know this to be true. The reason why people quit after Black Belt is because they didn't set the next goal. And like Black Belt was, to them, Black Belt was the marathon. It was the everything. And it's supposed to be the first belt. It's supposed to be like the start. So it tells us a lot of things about like, we're not coaching people properly because we're coaching them only towards this one mission. What if we could show the world that we could create more resilient kids? And what if, just what if, in the positive, not in the negative, what if my kid quits? What if this doesn't work? What if Aaron can't pull it off? What if it's a different style? Okay, what if we pull it off? Think about the impact to every martial arts school in the country, even the bad ones, boom, they automatically get a lift. Because every parent's will be like, man, I want my kid to be like that kid. I want my kid to be like this kid. Man, that would change the game for not just financial, for the industry. I know Japanese culture is known for being disciplined. I know that if you go to a tech company, there's probably a demographic of the kind of person that was, forget their nationality, how they're raised, so they have that intelligence, right? Martial artists, people have earned their black belts, people have gone through that resilience to get there. Man, they got some different moxie. So I think having something big. Elon wants to go to Mars. Martial arts needs our version of that, and I believe doing this is setting something that's so scary and going after it together. And individually, you and I, we should have our personal things, right? Like you're going to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament. It's going to be hard. And forget the outcome, just the journey. You already know, you're addicted to the journey part, right? Like there's so much growth there. What if we just created the culture around that continuing, not just towards that tournament, but what's the next thing? Like, you live forever if you do that.
I love that. And I think everyone needs to get on board with this idea. And the reason why I like it is because, especially the 10,000 kids, is because it's almost like a Mr. Beast-esque kind of thing, right? It's like
I'm working on him right now.
Yeah. So the reason he's like so popular is because he just does insane videos no one would ever imagine thinking of. Like they're so far fetched, right?
Crazy.
I was buried alive for 3 days. So,
Yeah.
What? Like you gotta click on that, right?
Yeah,
like,
you got to, right? Yeah.
I crashed a Lamborghini through Scotch tape at 150 miles an hour. Like see what happens, So it's like, why can't we have that same thing in martial arts where everyone just respects it at a different level, right? Not every culture respects it in the U.S. the same way as they respect it in
you're right.
South
But
Africa
you're right. Also, though, the problem is like somebody wants credit for it, and that stops us. So like the one thing about this mission is it's not going to be my name attached to it. I like intentionally, it's got to be something bigger than a person. And the martial arts community, like I'm a Christian, and what bothers me about church is a lot of times we're the biggest hypocrites. There's some saying like, throwing rocks in a glass house or whatever type thing. And like, so martial artists, our ego, by the way, the male ego is already fragile. A martial arts school owner, male, black belt, ego is probably the most fragile thing on planet Earth sometimes. Yeah. And I'm generalizing, of course. I'm generalizing. So I know that's the challenge is like, if it's attached for Aaron Hensley, like it's going to be like people are automatically, they're going to want credit too. Forget the credit. The credit needs to go to the kids and the parents who have invested the time, energy, effort, and money to be part of your program. And let's plan. By the way, this will be a Guinness World Record. So we're all going to be part of something massive together that will be documented. And then we'll do it again and we'll do it bigger each time. I want to change the conversation. Look, worldwide. Forget America. Like I love my country. But worldwide. Like I was fortunate to be born in this country. I'm fortunate to have amazing children. I won the lottery when it comes to where I was born and my parents are. Not everybody's blessed that way. And I've been able to teach martial arts outside of this country on mission trips multiple times. And I didn't even speak the language, but movement is a language. Movement's a language. And I wasn't even teaching self-defense. Like I was teaching movements from katas and routines that people could follow along because I couldn't speak the language. And it became a following instantly. Like look, I love football. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love sports. Sports are supposed to be a microcosm of life. We've turned those into a business. Martial arts. Is there sport of martial arts like UFC or karate competitions? Yes. Jiu-jitsu competitions? Yes. That's the sport. There's also the martial art, the lifestyle of learning about who you are as a man or a woman or a child in your development. And we can create a better platform to show the world and stop telling them about it. Show the world that we're creating great, beautiful, resilient kids who are competent warriors, not against an attack from another, person, but from just the world beating them down. And if we can create that, not if, we will. And I will invest my energy, time, effort, and money, and it will happen before 2030.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for coming on here today. Man. And if someone wanted to reach out to you and they want to get on board, they want to be part of this movement, this mission. We don't have a name for it yet, so I know it's not attached to you specifically. Yeah. But do you have like a name for it yet? I
do. So that's going to be at Scottsdale, the event in February. So Rise 720. Okay. They can go there, learn about the event. If they're not making the event, I'm going to ask them how serious are they about going to the next level. But for whatever reason, if they can't make it, they can reach out to me, Aaron@riseusa.com. That's my email. I love
2 A's and Aaron.
Aaron, that's right. Thanks for Keenan and Pill. Aaron. But Aaron@riseusa.com. Listen, I'm a martial artist. I will do martial arts until I die. My kids are doing it. We're not a baseball family. We're a karate family. God gave me something big in my heart when I was 7 years old, and I've known what my purpose is. And I'm just now recognizing the potential of what that is. And so my intent is to run great martial arts schools, help teach great martial arts, teach people how to teach great martial arts, help people be rewarded so they can have heaven on earth while they're here, and do some big stuff that scares the crap out of all of us, and create a legacy while we're living, not until we talk about us when we're dead. Talk about it now. Let's do some big things together as a group. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. My name is Matthew Brenner with Double Your Dojo. If you want to learn how to grow your martial arts school with all strategy, no fluff, you can check out the newsletter, the Black Belt Business Newsletter. If you send me a DM on Instagram @BlackBeltBrenner1, I'll send you the link. Or if you want to grow your school organically, 30 students in 60 days with 0 ad spend. So students you earn, not buy. You can also reach out to me at BlackBeltBrenner1 or visit wdojo.com. And remember, the code for the discount for tickets is Brenner, capital B. And you'll get a couple $100 off a ticket, and you get to see me there, and we'll have fun. All right. Bye, guys.